afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another bout of Propagandacast news with another update here for the Commander revamp mod or patch that's going to be hitting at some point in the future. So what's basically been changed to 1.4? Well, a bunch of things have changed, mostly allied things. They'll explain why they haven't changed much with the Axis. But overall, looking at mechanized, I know this is a slew of a lot of big things. Now the Dodge truck is no longer just amazing at moving about and grabbing territory. Now it can grab territory. It's not just a great platform for moving about infantry in. It's also now basically a Kubelwagen, but better because it can mark targets, call in artillery barrages, grab territory, transport troops. At this rate, it's going to end up being able to reinforce as well. I do believe they are pushing the Dodge truck a bit too hard, or they're not pushing the Kubelwagen very hard enough. Half-track there gets a bit cheaper. It's technically still more expensive than other half-track to a certain degree, at least the Wehrmacht half-track, but there's also in some ways the one that could do with some work, but that's another story. Still, assault unit crew removed, so that's just standard vehicle crew. That's of course necessary. There's a bit silly just, get that on top, the assault engineers on top of the half. That was just a ridiculous deal. And then you forget the riflemen, cavalry riflemen, but they get cheaper now. They cost the same as a regular rifle squad, available at one command point, meaning they can hit faster. They get 2 Thompson 45 munitions, and they get extra weapon slots. So they basically, well, aren't necessarily quite as great out of the gate. They're still pretty potent. I imagine you're going to be quite nasty since they are quite flexible as well as assault troops. So we'll have to see how that works out. But again, it does feel alongside the basically adding in the auto after a call in that they might be pushing again mechanized too much. Like they're really just pouring in as much as they can on, and comparatively, most of the doctrines aren't really getting that same, shall we say, level of support. Valentine basically vets up a lot faster now. As you might notice, most of its requirements have always been slashed in half. I mean, that's pretty big. Admittedly, most of the veterancy bonus aren't hugely beneficial, so that makes sense. The barrage now costs a bit more to call in, but on the other hand, it's still quite to work with something there. The Sexton now has a slightly longer cooldown, so alright there. Nothing too big with the bridges. Again, nothing massive as mechanized company, which again, I do feel like it's getting overloaded. NKVD rifle disruption loses the interrogate ability. On the hand, now gets grenades for the Commissar and can act as a retreat point. It requires late tech there, so that could be interesting how that works out. And the KV-8 gains an inspire, but this infantry by the KV-8 gets a buff by basically firing faster and moving faster. In other words, the Germans are still wondering when are they going to get their combined arms ability, as that was what the German army was known for in World War II, amongst other things. So again, when are they going to get that? Could we at least not get that to the half-track or something like this? Just, feels a bit silly. The Allies, again, the Americans were not exactly hugely known for it to get, had combined arms for ages. But the Germans, again, the army known for it, is still missing it. So, I'd really like to see something like that for the Germans, please. Moving on, the M42 anti-tank now gets canister rounds, meaning it can basically also act as an anti-infantry weapon. It also gets a slight buff to its armor-piercing rounds, and overall gets a bunch of other things. That one's getting rather, shall we say, severely buffed. That's going to be interesting how that works out, because it's going to lead to some interesting tactics there. And the KV-2 is now added to urban defense, replacing the incendiary barrage, and the KV-2 also gets that. So basically, so with these changes, the K1 and the KV-2 and KV-8. A lot of doctrines benefits, shock rifle, terror attacks, basically the doctrine from the KV-8, and sword industry benefits as well. But KV-2 basically also gets some, shall we say, fatter buffs as well. So, oh dear, that could certainly get a bit interesting as well. And then we go on to the Axis, where not really anything is happening. I mean, compared to against all the stuff they're loading on the Allies, this seems a bit weird, in particular since they're a bit waffling about here. Signal relay. Some people like this ability, others want to replace it. I mean, compared to what the Allies are getting, signal relay is utterly useless. It's not a combined arms ability. It's not, cavalry rifleman. It's nothing. It doesn't even make sense within elite armor. It's an elite armor doctrine, but there's nothing that really says this is elite and this is armored. Like, no armored half-tracks. Most elite armor divisions had, armored half-tracks usually had a higher quantity of them. Nothing, say, like elite infantry support the armor. Maybe some sort of infantry that, has a combined arms ability with the tanks. Say, big light grenadiers. That was actually a thing. I mean, that could be an idea. Maybe they have some bonuses, abilities that works with tanks. That could be great. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to be done there, but I just feel like just going based on the overall attractiveness of this, the doctrine, yeah. I mean, the rest of the doctrine is still not frightfully attractive because it's still not very elite armored. I mean, it's kind of a bit of the problem. It's just the doctrine that fails in its definition. It's not elite, and it's not frightfully armored either. So, I mean, you know, throw up signal relay, add something useful to the doctrine, something that signals elite and armored. Because right now, it's definitely not really much of the two. Maybe a bit armored, but it's not very elite. So that's going to be a big thing. And again, like, signal relay just doesn't fit in. Never mind, the orbital command has so many reconnaissance elements. Otherwise, it's utterly redundant. That's also another thing about it. It's just utterly redundant. I mean, you could just go for the infrared half track instead and just get that ability as well, but, you know, with a bit more psychological pressure on the enemy. So there's a lot here that could honestly be done. As for the stormtroopers, much of the negativity towards reworked stormtroopers date back to before significant change in 1.3. We would like to obtain additional feedback around this unit in its current form before we make further changes. I mean, again, it sort of seems like they're a bit waffling about it, whereas again, comparatively, they seem more than happy to just, you know, slap more onto your allies and the Dodge truck and everything else. I mean, you know, again, if we're going to push more combined arms, I mean, maybe the stormtroopers get something like, instead of being like booby traps. I mean, then assault troops, stormtroopers, you know. How about something there? Maybe a marked target ability, Panzerfaust, smoke grenades, anything. Just, you know, rather than a booby trap, which just, I mean, really, if you're using stormtroopers, the last thing you're going to be doing is booby trapping with them. It doesn't fit in at all. Like, you know, add something that seems, you know, more compelling towards what they're doing. And really, booby traps does not work like that. They just, like, I don't know why they added the booby traps to the stormtroopers. It's just weird. So, I mean, I'd definitely see those replaced with something a bit more useful. Again, some sort of, again, either grenade, well, not grenade, but smoke grenade maybe, Panzerfaust, that way they're a bit more flexible that way, you know, mark target or some sort of combined arms ability, anything, so, you know, they, you know, seem a bit out. And again, it just doesn't look like, again, it's the allies who get all the combined arms stuff, despite, again, in some cases, they were not particularly known for it. In particular, the Americans struggled with it throughout the war between infantry and armor, which again is where the Germans excelled. Moving on, we got the Austro defensive doctrine. We have some feedback suggesting this doctrine is missing a change to make it a compelling pick. Some players wish to see the Pack 43 replaced, how others enjoyed and use it as a thematic choice. We would like to see further feedback around the current version of this doctrine. The problem is here, basically, is the Pack 43 and the Stugi, they point in very different direction. I mean, the Stugi is more offensive, the Pack 43 is more static and doing nothing. I mean, the Stugi basically just isn't very defensive at all. I mean, if they want to add some sort of mobile element, they should have rather snuck in the Jagdpanzer instead of the Pack 43. That would have been a mobile, would have been defensive in some ways, but also given the Germans, you know, something to help deal with Allied tank destroyers at a range where they don't necessarily have to move in and just get shot to bits by Jackson's Initiative 5s. I mean, that would have been probably something a lot of our players asked for. And then maybe the Stugi, you know, heavy mortar, the 120mm mortar, the Germans use those a lot. I mean, there's a lot there they could be going for instead as well. So that would probably sort of be my suggestion there as a sort of, you know, small thought. But yeah, it definitely seems like they're waffling a bit about here when they're just hauling more upon the Allies. And particularly the Soviets aren't exactly weak at the moment in the meta. I wouldn't even say the Americans are, and they're just pouring more upon them, whereas for the Germans they're just sort of, yeah, I mean, there definitely, I think, needs to be some reprioritization there of what the hell they're doing, because it's starting to look a bit silly here. It's starting to look a bit silly when apparently they can just, you know, figure out, oh, the Dodge truck, oh, transport, artillery, marked target, oh, and it can now capture territory as well as the stormtroopers. We're not entirely sure what to do except give them booby traps, sire, or, you know, signal relay. I mean, we're just not sure what to do with it, but excuse us while we just continue to overload the Dodge truck with everything in the world. Come on, Relic. You can do better than that. So yeah, again, there's some promising things here, but again, I'm definitely getting the feeling they're very much overloading the Allies at the moment, whereas again, the Germans, they're just waffling about. So there you go, your bit of news with my interpretation of it. Hopefully you like it, hopefully you agree. If you do, subscribe, like, share, comment on it. And if you like what I do and, you know, appreciate my work, you can donate or pledge on Patreon. Links in the video description. This is Imperial Linking Cheers. Thank you for watching. See you all another time. Bye.